Tuesday Doctor's Call with Dr. Kurt Fizz from Fargo, North Dakota. We have this call every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. So you're welcome to join us each and every week for important health information and some solutions possibly. Typically we discuss health conditions or benefits of certain supplements on this call, and we work with a company called Fizz out of Utah, USA. And Fizz provides very effective non-toxic products, and all of those products have been designed by their owner and biochemist, Tom Maurer. So as we go through the call today, you may hear us mention some products. If you're not familiar with the products or the company, I'm sure that you saw a post somewhere or a friend invited you to this call. Get back with that person and find out more information from them. Dr. Kurt, so happy to have you on the call today, and I'm just going to let you take over.
All right. Well, thanks, Andrea. At first there, when you were introducing me, it sounded like you weren't quite sure if it was me or not.
Well,
that's what the California sun does to you. That's what the California sun does to you. So, well, welcome, everyone. Welcome to the call. This is Dr. Kurt Fizz. I'm up in Fargo, North Dakota, and I'm a chiropractor up here and been doing it for 31 years. I still love it. I still get up every day, and I enjoy what I'm doing. And now I get to work with people worldwide in a global business. I just love it, and making differences in people's lives. The big thing that I like to say on the call before we really get into the kind of the nitty-gritty of the call is that we can't say cure, we can't say treat, anything like that. We just merely have to say that what we're going to do is we're going to try and optimize your health, try and give you the things that you need so that you have a better quality of life. And so that's really what we're saying. So when you listen to the call, that's what you want to get out of it. I was just reading an article this morning on omega-7, and I took some notes here, some quick notes on it. And omega-7, it's another one of the omegas. We've heard of the omega-3, the omega-6, the omega-9, the omega-12. But omega-7 is one that a lot of people have really never heard about. But researchers at Harvard Medical and Cleveland Clinic have really been looking into the omega-7s. And they find that it's got some totally different properties than the other omegas, the omega-3s and those. But omega-7 is it enhances the omega-3s, and what it does, it supports a healthy, stable weight. So once you've taken your weight off in a weight loss program, which most people are trying to do this time of year until summer, they've been trying to take the weight off, and omega-7 will help stabilize that weight. The other thing that omega-7 does is it helps kind of keep the hunger under control, so you don't feel like you're going to get hungry right after eating, and that's because the insulin levels, they aren't spiking, things like that. It regulates the fat production within the fat cells, so you have fat cells, but if they're not producing fat, you're not going to have the additional weight gain. Helps to smooth out the arterial walls, supports cardiovascular health, helps out with cellular glucose with the sugar, and then, like I was saying earlier, supports a healthy insulin sensitivity. So your body, instead of making stored fat, what it does is it takes the fat and burns it as energy, takes the sugars, burns them as energy. So omega-7 is something that you want to add to your diet, and people say to me, well, where do I get that? Well, the cool thing about it is if you're already in Sizzle, if you already know about our products, just start taking the Super Omega Plus. It's the plus in the Super Omega, because it's got the omega-7, plus we've got CoQ10 in there as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there and let people know a little bit about the omega-7. As we're talking about omegas, and the main topic of today was really talking about allergies, and allergies are just a huge thing. In the United States, it costs $18 billion a year to treat allergies. It's the 6th leading cause of chronic illness. number 6. And so it's huge. And so these drug companies, they have you run into the store and buying the different medications and things like that. And I just want to kind of to go over a little bit about the medications. I don't know if you realize it, but when you take a look at the medications that they have on the market, you've got antihistamines like Claritin, Allegra, Benadryl. And the side effects of that is going to cause you to be drowsy. It's going to cause dizziness. It could cause sore throat. It can cause nausea. You have Flonase and the other steroids, and that'll cause sore throat, headaches, cough, nausea, and even nosebleeds. And then you have things like decongestants like Sudafed, which can cause an increase in blood pressure and dizziness and things like that. And then some of the medications, you take a look at Benadryl. They're now saying that Benadryl, which helps with allergy symptoms, but they say that if you take that drug for a long period of time, JAMA, which is the Journal of the American Medical Association, says that you have an increased risk of dementia when you take that medication. So they studied it. They studied 3,500 people over the age of 65 for 7 years, and they had access to the pharmaceutical records. And what they found is that there was a 54% higher risk of dementia amongst the people that were taking the Benadryl. So in today's world, as we're living longer and growing older, you don't want to have dementia. You want to be to a ripe old age without having any kind of symptoms of losing your memory and things like that. And so that's one thing to look at. As we're talking about omega-3s, it's a specific type of fatty acid that's needed for the human body, different functions. It's found in plants. It's found in different kinds of oils, in a lot of the different things that we eat. But the omega-3s, they're not as plentiful just because of farming practices and things like that, not like they used to. But we take a look at omega-3s, and what they found is that eating more omega-3 fatty acids improves resistance in the body. And they show that dietary omega-3 fatty acids actually improve asthma symptoms, and asthma is the leading cause of death amongst children. And so you start looking at that. And so what does the omega-3s actually do? And omega-3s are involved with anti-inflammation. Inflammation is involved with the mucous membranes. It can, lack of the omega-3s can cause depression, heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, arthritis, gum disease, hearing loss, all those different things. It's important for the development of the brain cell membranes as well as for blood clotting. And the body doesn't make the omega-3. That's why it's called an essential fatty acid. So that means that when you hear the word essential, your body can't make it. And so there's different kinds of omegas and that's why when you take a look at the Super Omega Plus, we get our omega-3 oils from a variety of sources, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but each source has its own little uniqueness that it does, its own unique property that it does to help out with the inflammation, and so the omega-3s really help out with getting rid of inflammation. When you take a look at allergies, allergies are an inflammation of that mucous membrane. So when your mucous membrane in your gut gets inflamed, what it does is it actually triggers an immune response, and so 60 to 70%, depending on where you read, 60 to 70% of your immune system is found right in the gut lining, and so you want to keep that inflammation under control. If you start having inflammation, it can lead to something we know as leaky gut syndrome. And what happens with leaky gut, real simply, is that the lumen, the spaces between the cells in your gut lining. Remember, your gut lining is like your skin, except it's on the inside of your body, and it's protected by a mucus layer. And But when that mucus layer gets inflamed, then what happens is that lumen, the spaces between the cells, it opens up. And so incompletely broken down proteins, ICPs, can actually be absorbed through the gut lining directly into the bloodstream before they're supposed to be broken, before they're broken down into the components that your body can actually use to build itself. And so your body has innate intelligence. It's got an immune system that what it does is it recognizes these incompletely broken down proteins, and it sets up an attack system. So the first thing that happens is that a cell from the immune system goes to work and attacks the invader, the foreign invader, and then if the attack by the over invader is too much, what happens is that there's an overreaction of the immune system. So the immune system goes and gets some other helper type cells, and then these helper cells, what they do is they create this cascade of events that triggers all of these histamine reactions and all the different things that we see, the reactions to allergies. But the other thing that happens is that as the immune system is attacking, it builds what's called memory cells. And those memory cells, what they do is they remember that particular foreign substance, that foreign invader. Let's say that it's dust particles, right? Or maybe it's pollen, springtime pollen from the trees, things like that. And what happens is that the memory cells then are stored inside your body, so the next time you get around that particular pollen or that dust or that dander, the dog dander or whatever it happens to be, what happens is that your immune system doesn't have to go through the work of setting up the immune system. It's already got a memory to it, so it goes to work almost immediately. And so you're going to have an immediate reaction. And every time you get sensitized to that dust or that pollen, whatever it happens to be that you're sensitive to, every time you get sensitized to that, it actually makes the immune system so it works even faster, and I'm going to say it works better, right? And you might think that, well, it's not working better, I'm having more symptoms. Well, that's because your immune system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and so it's reacting exactly what it's supposed to. And so, the things that I talk about is that we want to try and get rid of the inflammation, right, and help with the inflammation, but we also want to work on getting rid of the memory of that, so that we can reduce those symptoms. And the other thing is that we want to build that gut lining back up, that mucous membrane. It might not actually be the mucous membrane in your gut. It might be the mucous membrane in your sinuses. It might be the mucous membranes in your lungs or in the airways, and those different things. So you can have a reaction anywhere that there's a reduction in the mucous membrane in those linings of those cells. And so how do we build that back up? I mean, that's probably the most important thing, is how do we build that back up? So what they're really finding in a lot of the studies is that you want to build that back up by first, like I said, get rid of the inflammation. So your omega-3s are going to be really, really important to that. And it's going to be a little bit higher dose than what you think. I've recommended 4,000 to 5,000 milligrams of omega-3s to people that have severe allergy symptoms. It seems like a lot, but you want to get rid of the inflammation. And so you bump that up. That's going to help. It's a good natural anti-inflammatory. The vitamin C is good, and that's going to help. Turmeric is helpful, and you'll find that in a number of our products. The Influence has got some turmeric in it. The Brain Vitality, the Renovator, they've all got some of that turmeric in it, and that helps with getting rid of inflammation as well. Sometimes I'll take just a straight old turmeric capsule by itself, so that I have that. Hang on one second. But so I'll use a turmeric capsule, and that'll help with getting rid of some of that inflammation. And so those are the things that you can do to get rid of some of the symptoms. And then what you want to do is you want to build up the gut lining. And so I like to build the gut lining up with probiotics. The Balance D is an excellent kind of a broad spectrum probiotic. It's really good. It's got the prebiotics, and when you see the word prebiotic, a lot of people ask me, well, what exactly is that? Well, the prebiotic is actually the food to feed the probiotic. Bad bacteria live on sugar and processed carbs, and prebiotics live the probiotics actually live on the prebiotics, which are things like cellulose and things like that. So your body can help keep those alive, and if you can keep the probiotics, keep that microflora healthy, what it'll do is it'll actually fight off the bad bacteria, but it'll build up that lining in the mucous membranes, in your sinuses, in your gut, in your lungs, in the air passageways, all these different places. It'll build that mucous membrane back up to where it's supposed to be, and what that'll do is that'll stop the leaky gut syndrome, and then your immune system can kind of get balanced out. Now, there are some things that you can use to desensitize the immune system, balance out that Th1, Th2 immunity, and but we won't get into that because that's a little bit more of a challenge. But I'm just going to say that the anti-inflammatories, like I said, the omega-3s, the omega-7s, the turmeric, the vitamin C, those are excellent for getting rid of inflammation, and then adding the probiotics like the Balance D to build up the mucous membrane. And I like to go one step further. I'll use something like Bragg's apple cider vinegar. I take a little bit of that each day. I also drink a kombucha tea, which is a cultured tea. It's got probiotics that live in it as well, and I think those are excellent products. So, Dr. Kim, were you able to get on?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. So what do you think? I mean, have you ever heard about adding like a dried yeast also to the mix?
I haven't.
Yeah, I've been reading that dried yeast actually helps out a lot with hay fever symptoms.
Wow. You know, I'll share with you one of the things that has worked fairly consistently for my patients over the years, and for me is doing a liver gallbladder cleanse. You know, a liver cleanse.
Okay,
will help.
So the super detox would be beneficial as well.
Yeah, it's getting those toxins out, and you can do a little research on your own. If I use Hulda Clark's liver cleanse, the one that she recommends, and you can Google that, or if you want, you can contact me because I think I have it written out somewhere. But that has really a pretty quick and procedure that we've done that really works pretty good. I find that when people do that, the allergies do much better. Their skin improves. Lots of good benefits from doing that. So it all probably all centers around the diet that we have, the junk that we're putting in our bodies, the fact that we've all been affected by glyphosate, which it's caused the leaky gut that you've talked about, and those toxins can get through the gut and get into their cells, and the body's going to react to that, and the allergies are the result. So all the things you said are really important, but it's something we all have to deal with at one point, because we're just I don't know how we can avoid the toxins that we're exposed to every day.
Right.
It's something our our grandparents didn't have to deal with too much, but we do.
Yeah. Yeah, when they introduced glyphosate into the environment, it set us up for some bad stuff, and a lot of people don't realize how bad it is. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said, oh, it can't be that bad. They sell it at Walmart.
Oh my gosh! You know, it is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's affected almost everybody in the country, probably almost everybody in the world. It is terrible stuff. And of course, you know, most people are probably starting to hear the term microbiome now. I know you're familiar with that term and what it means. You know, we're supposed to have like 30, maybe 33,000 different strains of beneficial bacteria in our body, and because of the toxins that we're exposed to and the leaky gut, that a lot of people walk around with maybe 10,000 strains, maybe a third of what you're supposed to have. And if you're sick, you probably got less than that. So rebuilding that microbiome, I think, is more than just taking a probiotic, because a probiotic may have 7 strains in it or 10 strains, and we're down maybe 20,000. So we have to work on our gut to make it hospitable to all the beneficial bacteria. And once you get the leaky gut taken care of, and the probiotics is probably the key, because now you can start, every time you breathe in some dusty air, you're taking in bacteria that are beneficial. When you're out working in the garden and it's a little dry and the dust pops up, or you have your dirt in your hands and maybe you wipe your face a little bit, you're re-inoculating yourself with beneficial bacteria. So it's quickly becoming one of the most intriguing and interesting areas of medical research at this point, is how do we restore that microbiome? And you just can't take 20,000 strains of bacteria. It doesn't work that way. So all the things that you mentioned are really, really important to creating a host that is ready to accept all the good bacteria.
Well, and one of the things that they've been talking about at a lot of the anti-aging seminars is they're saying now that the probiotics, the healthy bacteria, well, even the bad bacteria, the bacteria that are growing in your gut lining, in your mucous membranes, they don't know exactly how it works, but they say that there's a direct communication between the bacteria and your brain.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. David Perlmutter wrote the book Brain Maker, and of course he's a world famous brain doctor, and he says most psychoses and most problems that people have actually originate with a disruption in the gut, in the microbiome in the gut.
So going by that, then, Dr. Kim, wouldn't you say that if you have a healthy gut, then chances are you can lower your risk of depression, anxiety, all of that?
Dementia, everything. It is the key. And there were, I forget the names, doctors from the 2,000 years ago said a healthy gut is the key to everything. And so it's very, very important to keep your digestion as optimal as possible, because that's the basis of good health right there.
You probably were there when he said it 2,000 years ago, huh?
Well, I was only in high school, but I remember. Thank you for saying that, Dr. Curry.
Well, you look good for being 2,000 and some years old.
Yeah. Sitting up, taking nourishment, stuff like that. It's good. I thought we'd make it through the whole call without you getting a couple, references to my age in here, but I guess not.
No, I can't do that. That wouldn't be any fun.
No, of course not. But everybody knows what the mitochondria is, the little factories in the cell that produce our cellular energy. But a lot of people don't know that they have their own DNA, which means they're non-human. What we've done is develop. Yeah, they have mitochondrial DNA. It's a separate animal that lives in our cells that keeps us alive. It's basically a bacteria that we've developed a symbiotic relationship with to live. And if you
That's just
add
crazy.
up if you add up all the foreign cells, the non-human cells in our body, they actually weigh more than the human cells.
Yeah, I've heard that before, that we actually have more foreign DNA chromosomes than we do human chromosomes.
Exactly. The sheer weight of the foreign cells in our body is more than the what we call human cells. Fascinating stuff, you know. It makes us look at health a lot differently, because we not only have to keep our cells healthy, we got to keep the other cells healthy too, because they're part of us.
Yeah. Yeah, and you look at all this junk that we, that's processed foods that feeds the bad bacteria, and we've got the different things, the sprays that we put, the herbicides, the pesticides that we put on the food, and then we got the antibiotics, and what is it, like 80 to 90% of the antibiotic use in the United States is actually in the livestock. Livestock. It's not in human use. It's actually in livestock. And so when you eat that hamburger that you bought, it's got that stuff in it, and you can't cook it out. You can't cook it out. Cooking doesn't destroy it, and so it's destroying that. And then we throw these antibacterial soaps on our skin, and we have toothpaste with antibiotics in it. Bug killers in our toothpaste, all that different stuff. I mean, holy cow! It's no wonder we have allergies and we're sick all the time.
Absolutely. I mean, antibiotics should be the very last resort. I get patients all the time. Well, I got a cold, and I went to the doctor, and he gave me some antibiotics. Well, to me, that doctor should be thrown in jail. Because what's a cold? It's a virus. What do antibiotics work on? Bacteria. So the doctor is giving them a substance that's going to kill their immune system, and not do anything for the condition with the patient we're the doctor for in the first place.
But sticking up for the doctors, my son's going to medical school, and they're just doing what they feel is going to keep the patient happy, because now that's what the whole deal is that the insurance companies, they'll ask the patient, were you happy with the doctor's treatment? And if the patient says no, Dr. Kim didn't treat me right, well then the insurance company can deny payment to you.
Yeah. Well, see, this is so, basically so idiotic and corrupt. But the only way to combat this is through things like this call that we're having today. People have to educate themselves. They can't go into the doctor, get an antibiotic for a cold, and think that the doctor did something good for them. I mean, that just comes from, not knowing, and a lot of times maybe the doctor doesn't know either. He doesn't understand, because that's the way he was taught. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that. But if a doctor is just giving antibiotics out willy-nilly because, he's going to make the insurance company happy, I mean, to me, that's criminal. It's just not right. So,
yeah, but we saw it a number of years ago, since you and I got into practice, right? I mean, we aren't called doctors anymore. Now we're providers.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when they took that title doctor away from us and called us a provider, I mean, it doesn't seem like it, to most people, they go, oh, yes, just a change in terms, but it changes a lot of things, because doctor actually means teacher, and we're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yep. Yeah, it's a sad situation, and it's going to just take education on the part of the consumer to start changing things. I mean, you can't be an uneducated person.
Yeah. Well, let me sum things up. I know it's the end of the call here, and Dr. Kim, I appreciate your words of wisdom, and Andrea, I thank you for always being there to greet everybody and host the call. I mean, think about it. if you want to get rid of the inflammation, you know, like we talked about, things like vitamin C and another one is quercetin, which is an extract that comes from onions and garlic. That helps out. You know, I always use more garlic when I feel something coming on, a cold or something like that. And but onions and garlic, they have quercetin, which helps with that. But the turmeric, which you find in a number of our products, including the Brain Vitality and the Renovator, and then and the Influence as well. And then we have the omega-3s, which it's Super Omega Plus. It's got the omega-3s. It's got the omega-7s. It's got CoQ10. It's just an excellent formulation, a really intelligent formulation on how the product was put together. Fucoydon, which helps with inflammation and it bumps up the immune system. Another great product. And then typically, like Dr. Kim and I were talking about with the whole syndrome of having leaky gut. You know, you want to give your body nutrients. So the SpectrumX and the Encompass 360 are two really good products for that. And then of course building that mucous membrane back up, and that's where, you know, the Balance D comes into play there, using the Balance D, and also, like I said, kombucha, which is a fermented cultured tea, and then Bragg's apple cider vinegar is another really good one for that. And it can't be just regular vinegar. You know, a lot of people say, oh, I just drink pickle juice. Well, no, that's not the same thing. It's actually a cultured apple cider vinegar. It's got probiotics living in it. It's a living, breathing food, which sounds kind of crazy, but you know, like Dr. Kim was just saying. I mean, think about it. We've got more foreign DNA in our body than human DNA, and so, you know, it makes sense to pay attention and to feed the good, healthy stuff. So thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Kim. Thanks, Andrea.
Welcome. Good hearing from you. Have a great day.
All right. You guys have a great day, too. Bye-bye.